Hey guys, it's Vena here from Vena's Spiritual Lounge, and today is 9/9/25, which 2025 adds up to 9. So it is a triple nine day, and I just want to say I am going to be playing triple nines today, and I would advise you guys to do the same. Today is supposed to be a very special numerological day, triple nines, and it's a very good day for energy. Um, Now, if you guys remember in my last video, my prior video, I gave you guys three, the number three that I was given, right? And stuff had already happened on the third and the sixth, and I told you it would either be something with three, be divisive by three, etc. Well, today is a divisive by three day, and if you guys know anything about numerology, you know that 3, 6, and 9 are very cosmically important dates. Now, I'm not a numerologist, so there's so many out there. You can Google on YouTube, exactly what this 999 day is for us. But I can say that there are certain aspects astrologically and numerology that that propel things in a quicker way, in a much more fluid way, and a much more harmonious way. There's certain aspects, numerology wise and astrologically wise, okay, that things flow a bit more harmonious on this level, on our plane, okay? And today is supposed to be one of those days for that, as it is a 999 day, right? And, I see all this stuff about people saying you can manifest this or manifest that or whatever this or whatever that. Okay, as you all know, and from what I've seen and what I've told you guys, if something is for you in your path set up, it's going to come whether you manifest it or not. Okay, there's no special tricks, spells, etc. that you need to do. Conversely, if it is not supposed to be in your path, if it doesn't serve your highest good, it's not going to come. Okay? So, my own personal advice is just to allow things to unfold. Just allow them to flow the way they're going to flow. Okay? Um, you know, this notion that we have to do something, we have to do a certain thing and a certain this and a certain that. I never saw that during my trip on the other side, okay? And that's why I'm not into the rituals and the this and the that. I saw that the energies that are there and will unfold and flow the way they should and the way they need to without any assistance. The universe doesn't need our help. It really doesn't. Okay? It's going to do its thing no matter what we do. And the opposite is also true. So, but days like today where that energy, okay, is much more fluid, things flow a little bit more harmoniously, okay? So today could be a good day that you find that you're free of an addiction. You're free of an addictive relationship. You're free of a person that doesn't need to be in your life. Um, Something drops from your life without really you doing anything. Something may come into your life without you really doing anything, okay? Um, so I'd be curious to know how this day affects, different people. Um, it's just begun for me, so I'll have to get back to you. But we're just going to let things flow. We're just going to let them unfold like they're going to unfold. You know, the universe is going to do her thing. She's going to do her thing. That love pulses constantly, continuously on its own. Um, we don't, keep the sun shining. We don't keep the moon spinning around the earth. We don't keep the earth from just, I don't know. The universe takes care of all that, right? The energies behind all that. So we're just going to allow things to flow and unfold. But I will say that if you're curious about, more with today's energy, look it up and see, what the real numerologists are saying and some of the astrologers too. There's many out there. Um, like I said, I would just, steer clear of anyone saying, well, if you don't do this, this is not going to happen. That's not what I've seen. That's not what I've seen. Okay. Um, so uh, onward with today. I got a lot really to unpack for today, and I'm trying to move it quickly here because I don't want this to go over an hour. But I want to start off with that woman, that wannabe politician in Georgia, called herself calling in ICE on the South Korean Hyundai plant in Georgia, and where there were nothing but Korean workers there setting up the plant. And so she just, being a typical MAGA, just thought, hey, this is like chance for me to be like, you know, atypical, okay, and look good to, all the other racist haters around here and call ICE on these guys. And sure enough, they came and arrested darn near all of them. Um, and long story short, they were arrested, but most of them were freed. They were all here basically legally. They were setting up a plant which would eventually uh, make available 9,000 jobs in that area, okay, for the local, Georgians there. But this person, she didn't go that far with it. She just thought she was just doing a great, good thing, getting rid of, getting ICE on these folks. Now, the very interesting thing about that is I heard from several Koreans on social media. Um, and the reason why I kind of feel good about what she did, even though it was done for the very wrong reasons, and her intentions were not good. However, several Koreans have said that, Koreans largely voted for Donald Trump in this last election. They typically vote Republican. They consider themselves the cream of the crop of Asians, and they kind of have a very snooty attitude when it comes to other Asians. They look down on other Asians. I was not really aware of that, But the interesting thing with this whole raid on this plant is that now they see, and they have been placed on the same level as everyone else, that MAGA doesn't like them either. Okay, the government's not crazy about them either. So it kind of humbles them a bit and takes them down a notch. And some of that snootiness or snooty attitude of the they're better than, um, you know, they're going to have to rethink that. Okay. Um, so, in a sense, we can see how, you know, through this woman's bad intentions, love kind of worked that in there to balance that playing field there, okay, and to put them in their correct place as being equal and not above, okay. They're not better than. I have noticed. My husband and I frequent a Korean buffet very regularly, and it's owned by South Koreans, and I have noticed that type of attitude now that I've heard it. You know, I couldn't quite place it before, but now I have it in perspective of why they've acted. You know, never really truly friendly, never welcoming. So anyway, you know, their perspective needs to have a reality to it. And they needed to, you know, and this, of course, now, you know, all South Koreans across the country will have to rethink, hey, you know, how they're looked at and what they're thought about. Okay, so I thought that was pretty interesting. Uh, Here's something else that's fascinating. Do you remember Kendrick Lamar had the Crips and the Bloods on his stage in his concert out in LA months ago? And I actually did a video about that, and I spoke on that pretty much at length. Well, come to find out that they are now, the Crips and the Bloods are now working together against ICE, doing things against ICE. Um, and I mean, I love that. You know, this administration is proving more and more what I've said from the beginning, the enemy of my enemy, right? And the Crips and the Bloods, you know, there are decades long feud between them, right? And they are coming together um, very strong out in LA and other parts of California to thwart ICE's, you know, detainments and just thwart all their efforts into picking up, you know, any person of color. And now that we have the Supreme Court, who has ruled that yes, you know, you can be picked up just by your looks. Um, we're going to see more and more of that. We're going to see more and more people, um, you know, thwarting ICE's efforts. And so I do have several things that came through. Um, I know I told you guys a while back things were going to get pretty ugly, you know, as time goes on. And I do feel we are in for several explosive events. Things are getting to a boiling point with the citizens, okay? And some people are able to process all these changes, although it's very difficult. But some people cannot, and these people will react. And I've told you guys before, MAGA is going to go after Republicans, which we've seen, but it's going to get even more violent. Um, and I feel like a huge type of revolt coming, um, especially around like November. I think something in November is going to be a huge tipping point, in some kind of way that is going to spur people. Just, they're not going to be able to take it anymore. They're really not, which will eventually be a good thing, and push back on this administration and what they're trying to do. Now, I know that there is a very big protest coming up, planned protest, October 18th, I believe. And this is another massive protest, that's going to be all in all 50 states, okay? And it's slated to be bigger than the No Kings protest, and the No Kings protest was huge, huge. So, um, I applaud, those putting together these events, those who are participating in them, and it's all for a good reason and all for a good cause. But I will say that we've got some explosive energy coming, very soon on the horizon in this country, and it's personally, I welcome it. I really do. I welcome it. Um, and it needs to happen. It really needs to happen. People are just, they're fed up and they won't be able to take any more. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong, but Eminem, does he have a new song out that's even more critical of Trump than what his last song was? Um, I love Eminem. I love his passion, his intensity. He calls a spade a spade. This song that I heard, OMG, it's OMG. Um, the video that I saw of this song, there were so many people, at this concert or wherever he was, that were cheering and, just loving the words. And, because one thing about Eminem, you're going to understand damn near every word he speaks. Okay? And so, go Eminem, love it. Speak truth to power. It's just, that's, to me, that is divine love in action. One of the ways, divine love is doing her thing. Okay? Let's see. There was an Oregon politician, Republican Cyrus Javadi. He switched to Democrat. And basically, they stated that their party is just is just unrecognizable. It doesn't recognize their party anymore, um, and they're going to be switching, voting with Democrats. So one more, Lindsey Graham, um, one of the most troublesome people, next to Mitch McConnell, who has had a large part in helping to get us to where we are now. He has become all of a sudden ultra critical of Trump. And I just find that very interesting. He has zero integrity, but even he is voicing, a lot of criticism of Trump. So, the enemy of my enemy, right? And a lot of you, when I spoke about MTG Marjorie, and I talked about, how vocal she was, and this and that, and you said, well, don't trust her, blah, 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 blah. She has no integrity either. I don't trust her as far as I can throw her. Um, she's a vile, ugly human being. and purposefully so. She does it on purpose. Extremely ugly. However, she is, at this moment in time, she's saying the right thing and doing the right thing where it counts. Divine love uses people in all different ways, in all different situations. Okay? And that's just one example. She's a voice that needs to be heard right now. We need that voice, because when the crazies start speaking truth to power, the other crazies start listening. Okay? When normal people speak it, they don't want to hear it. But crazy to crazy will listen. So that's a good thing. No, I mean she's vile. Very vile. So I don't want to hear any more comments about, oh please, no, 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 no. No, I don't trust her. She's horrible. She's still horrible. But she's one of the voices that needs to be heard right now at this point in time. Period. Okay? And it's little things like this, the Lindsey Grahams, the Marjories, they actually make an impact, whether you like it or not, or whether you like them or not. When they speak truth to power, they make an impact. So we'll take it. We will take it. Washington, D.C., shout out to you guys for September 6th and those protests. OMG. And, to prove, I gave you guys the prediction that Donald Khan had the troops in Washington, had nothing to do with crime or anything like that, and it was basically for protection, okay? And we kind of saw that because the National Guard is like literally picking up trash. Like literally picking up trash. Which is a good thing. I mean, I'm all for that too, but what a waste of their talents, right? And, because someone called his bluff and he did all this bluster, he's threatening Illinois, going out to Chicago, and Governor Pritzker's like, yeah, bring it on. So now, that's kind of escalated and stuff. But that's just not going to work. And it's just not going to go the way this administration planned. It's just not. Because the intention really wasn't to occupy the cities. It really wasn't. Their initial intention was strictly for protection. This president, they know, is loathed by many. And so that's the reason for the troops in Washington. But it sort of became like a threat and I double dare you type thing. So now, he may try to send them out to other, but it's just going to fall apart at the seams. It really is. It's just going to fall apart. And that could be some of this violent, truly violent energy I see coming, guys. Okay? And I will say this. Most of your average citizens will not be affected by that violence. Okay? So hopefully that'll ease some minds. I had told you guys about Florida being impacted about a storm. That's what I saw. I still see it. A lot of you said, it was Aaron and Aaron came and went. I never said a name of the storm. I still see it coming. We are apparently still in hurricane season. So I understand there are storms forming now off the coast of Africa, off the continent of Africa. So, unfortunately, I just still see, so whatever protective measures you're doing to your homes or property, etc., just keep that up, because it's there's still something coming that's going to affect the entire state. Let's see. Okay. All right. Before I get on to the stuff that, is kind of fun for me, um, I just want to make sure that I covered everything. And I think I did. So, the fun stuff for me. Okay, one more thing. Sorry, I did. Um, do you guys remember I told you about the releasing of the Epstein files and what I was given intuitively from our friends? And I said that they would eventually be released. All the info would eventually be released. It just would not be through the traditional ways, right? Well, we saw evidence of part of that already coming true with how the Democrats subpoenaed the Epstein estate and got that birthday card released, as well as some other information released, okay? And this administration is like, they're livid. They know it's real. We know it's real, that card. But more and more will come out. And eventually I believe that some type of full hacking unit will just release everything. Um, but it will all be out, okay? It's not going to be from the DOJ. It's just not. I never saw that. I always saw it being from outside other type of sources, okay? So, that's the last thing. All right. This is, I'm only going to do one question today, and then I'm going to go into something else that's super fun for me. But I wanted to address this because it's such a good question, and a lot of people I know have this same concern. So, they say, I have been feeling grateful and feeling good, knowing I am loved and supported by the universe. But why do I always fear that if I start to feel too good and too happy, that it means I have jinxed it and brought on a bad thing? So, I love that question because I think it's on everyone's thing. It's like, oh God, I'm feeling good. Something bad is definitely going to happen. Right? But I believe my very first divine love lesson that I started a couple months ago, I talked about what your expectation was of divine love, okay? And I told you guys then, and I've said it many times since, divine love doesn't always come pretty. It doesn't always come, yay, cuddles. It just doesn't always come that way, okay? It has to come the best way it can for our understanding, the way we view things, the way we look at situations, okay? And so if you can understand that no matter what appearance it takes, it's still divine love in action, okay? And it's not always going to come pretty, and the reason is because we won't always accept it, the prettiness, okay? How many times have you known someone in your life and they were a great person, kind, generous, whatever, and it wasn't until they were gone out of your life in some kind of way that you truly appreciated them? Appreciated that their lovingness, their true kindness, their goodness. You didn't really appreciate it when it was right in front of you. And so the same thing is with your expectation of how divine love should be. So, if you are always thinking, I should always feel good, I should always feel happy, and if I don't, then that's bad. No, no, that's not the case. The case may be you may have moments where you do feel happy, but then you have moments where you're feeling somewhat depressed or slightly unhappy and sad about certain things, and those are time to work with those things. Why are you feeling depressed? Why are you feeling sad? That's divine love trying to help you work through those things. Okay? It doesn't always come in a pretty package with a bow. But knowing that it's working always and always in action, no matter how it comes across your view, will give you happiness, will give you some type of happiness. No one, and especially on this plane, okay, those pure happiness, lovey-dovey, cuddly, exuberant vibes are just not possible here in this density. There's too many jagged edges here. There's too many hardened energies, okay, that don't always fit in the boxes we think they should fit. Now, in the spiritual world, yes, you do feel that continuous bliss, that continuous harmony, that continuous happiness. Okay? But on this plane, you're not going to feel that. And so once you can understand that and accept that, that will actually help with a lot of people feeling depressed, feeling sad, feeling that something is bad. When it's not necessarily bad, it's just something else that's in your life that we may have to address or do differently or work on. And that's still divine love working it. It's working it. It's doing its thing. Always. Non-stop. Non-stop. And so when those rivers of the different changes come through our life, right? You'll know that each one is from the river of love. Each wave is from the ocean of love, right? And sometimes we get the soft little waves, and then sometimes, but it's still from the ocean of love. And it's there for some purpose in our life to keep us connected to that harmonious flow of love. Okay, so I don't necessarily want to say stop trying to be so happy. You know, I have a chapter in the first book, Stop Trying to Be So Good. Because it's impossible on this earth, on this plane here, to always be good, to always be happy, to always be joyous. It's not possible. This 3 dimension is not for that. It is not for that. It is for us to put our understanding into practice. That's what it's for. Okay? So I hope I answered that, but it's an excellent point to me. Okay, so in the last video, a lot of you said in the comments you did look up your chart and you learned a lot about yourself and this and that. And so I wanted to kind of just further clarify some of the information that you did receive from looking at your chart. Okay? And one of the things I wanted to state was a lot of people say, well, you know, I'm a Gemini, but like I'm not like flighty, or I don't talk fast, or, you know, I don't seem like I'm a Gemini, or I'm a Cancer, but I'm not very homey, or, you know, I'm not very emotional, or, you know, I don't seem to be the sign that I am. Well, the reason is because you have your overall sun sign. And that's what makes us say, hey, I'm the Gemini, or I'm the Cancer, or I'm a Capricorn, or whatever. But we also have what's called the personal planets, okay, that make up different facets of who we are. We have the Moon, Venus, Mercury, Mars, and in some ways Jupiter, okay? And the Moon, and each of those signs, as you see in your chart, was also in a certain sign when you were born. Okay? And so all that together makes you specifically you. Okay? But the moon is our emotional self. How we react to things emotionally. Okay? And so you might be a sun sign Cancer, right? But you may have your moon when you were born. It could have been in Aquarius. And Aquarius is an air sign, not emotional at all. So that's why you say, hey, I'm a Cancer. I'm supposed to be emotional, but I'm not. Well, your moon could have been in Aquarius at the moment of your birth. So it makes you much more detached emotionally, much more objective in looking at things, okay? So that's your emotional nature. Then you have Venus. Venus is how we love, how we appreciate beauty, okay? And so you might be my husband, for instance, he is a Sagittarius, okay? Next to Gemini, they are supposed to be the major super cheaters of the zodiac, because they're you know, constantly looking for the, you know, the next better thing and ongoing. Okay, so my husband is a Sagittarius sun sign. However, his Venus, how he loves, is in Scorpio. Scorpio is a fixed water sign and probably the most loyal of all the signs. There's Taurus will say, hey, and Taurus is right. Taurus is fixed earth. They're pretty loyal too, very affectionate. But so my husband, although he's a flighty, supposedly in love Sagittarius, his Venus, how he loves, is in Scorpio. Of all the problems I've had with him, cheating has not been one of them. Just hasn't been one of them. So look at what sign your Venus is in to tell how you love and appreciate beauty. And then you have Mercury. That's how we think, how we talk, how we communicate. Okay? So you could be an overall supposedly fast-talking Gemini, right? But You're like, I don't talk fast, I talk very slow. Well, your Mercury could be in a sign like Taurus. Very slow, methodical, um, takes their time, no rushing, does everything very deliberately. Okay, so you're not going to talk like a Gemini. Not at all. You are going to talk and think like a Taurus, slowly, deliberately, methodically, etc. Okay? So, in looking at your chart to further understand the you of you, because just saying someone is a overall Scorpio or Aquarius means nothing. It's that chart and the specifics, because with that chart you have to tell your specific date and your specific time, and the time is for the ascendant, and the ascendant is also one of your personal attributes because it hones down your overall look, okay, and how you overall navigate the world. So let's see, here's a good example. Typically a person with a Sagittarius ascendant ruled by Jupiter. Okay, Jupiter's expanded. Okay, so that overall appearance is going to be usually a little expanded. These are your people that will never be truly skinny. Whereas the opposite, if you have a Capricorn ascendant, Capricorn rules the bones. That person is going to be very bony if they have a Capricorn ascendant, no matter what their sign is. Also, if a person was born, whatever their sign, if they have a Leo ascendant, typically they're going to have a lot of hair or a full beard or love to wear their beard. Something about their hair. Okay? So, Mars. Mars is our action, us in action. Okay? It also rules how we like to have sex, or if we even like sex. It whatever sign it's in, if you have a Mars in a fiery sign like Aries or Sagittarius or Leo, right? You're going to be very passionate that way. Okay? You're going to be very passionate in the bedroom. Okay? So, look at your chart, look at all the planets, because the link I gave, and I'm going to include it in today's video, that link breaks down every single planet at the time of your birth. It's the you of you. Okay? It's the actual you of you. And it's nothing you have to really go into too deeply, Like I said, the moon will rule your emotions. Venus rules how you love and how you appreciate beauty. Mercury is how you communicate, you talk, think, etc. Okay? Mars is your energy, your action, how you get angry. Okay? And how you engage in that bedroom activity. Okay? And then the ascendant is your overall look, your overall self. Okay? And that's a very, there's so much more to it, but for those that are into astrology, it can certainly pinpoint and fine tune things down for you. Okay? So, that kind of stuff is fun for me to talk about. All right? there's so many different attributes that make us up. Okay, and you can find them in your chart. All right, so happy hunting, because it's really a fun, fascinating thing to look at, especially when you start getting into the nitty gritty of each planet and how it works in, within you. Okay, and if you find that you have several planets in the same sign, like 3 planets or more in the same sign or in the same house in that chart, that's what they call a stellium. And whatever sign that is, you have very many attributes, qualities of that sign. Okay? Very much. I have a stellium in Aquarius. Okay? Um, I am quite Aquarian in many ways. Many ways. Um, and I've seen that about myself over the years. I just see it, and I've always gotten along with Aquariuses. Always, it's like we're on the same vibe. But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall be back soon. I did keep it under an hour, so go me. And let's keep our understanding and our acknowledgement of divine love, knowing that it's pulsing always, no matter what we do. We don't have to do anything, it's doing its thing. All right? So thanks a lot.